Beloved, there is a man who walks alone, unknown to many, unseen by crowds, without the comfort of companions by his side. A solitary figure, yet not forsaken by his Maker. In this world, where friendships abound and camaraderie is sought like the very breath of life, this man lives without the echo of laughter shared over a meal, without the tender care of one who would call him friend. But let us not pity him too swiftly, for there are treasures in this path that are hidden from the world's eye. Solitude in times of need is an experience many have known, but only a few have truly understood. To be alone in moments of pain or trial is not merely to be without the aid of others, but to face the depths of one's heart in raw isolation. When friends and family are absent, and when voices that might offer comfort fall silent, a person is left to grapple with the stark reality of their own existence. It is in these quiet, almost desolate moments that the soul confronts its innermost self. Solitude can strip away illusions and distractions, forcing us to confront what we may have hidden even from ourselves. Such solitude, though painful, holds the potential for profound transformation, teaching us resilience and revealing to us strengths we may never have known we possessed. In these silent seasons, a person comes face to face with both his frailties and his fortitudes. Left without others' encouragement or advice, he learns to make peace with himself and to find within his own heart the courage to continue. It's a refining process, much like gold being purified by fire. In solitude, weaknesses and insecurities are brought to the surface not as a punishment, but as an invitation to understand and overcome them. This absence of companionship, rather than defeating the spirit, can build a man into one whose foundation is as unyielding as the bedrock beneath him. For in his loneliness he learns that the truest source of strength does not come from outside approval or support, but from the quiet confidence cultivated within. Loneliness in difficult times often feels like an abandonment, yet this perceived emptiness may be an avenue through which one discovers the strength of divine companionship. For many, solitude drives them toward the arms of God, the ultimate friend and comforter. In the absence of human voices, the heart begins to hear the gentle whispers of divine love and guidance. In those moments of isolation, there arises a sacred opportunity to lean fully on God, to trust in His providence and promises more deeply than ever before. The solitary man is often drawn to prayer, where he pours out his soul without reservation. Here, in communion with the Creator, he learns that true companionship does not rely on proximity or visibility, but on faith and surrender. Yet, the man who finds himself alone in times of need must wrestle with the longing for human connection. He may yearn for a shoulder to lean on, a hand to hold, or simply a presence to share the burden. This longing, however, need not lead to despair. Instead, it can deepen his appreciation of the relationships he once had or hoped to have in the future. In solitude, he becomes acutely aware of the blessing that friendship represents. This understanding breeds in him a gratitude that few possess, a humility that recognizes that relationships are gifts, not entitlements. Such solitude shapes him into a man who, when he does have the company of friends, cherishes and nurtures those relationships with sincerity and care. Furthermore, being alone in times of need cultivates patience, a virtue seldom mastered in our hurried world. Left with no one to distract him from his trials, he must endure each moment with unwavering resolve. Time slows, and in the silence he learns the discipline of waiting without complaint. Patience becomes his companion, teaching him to endure without immediate resolution, to remain hopeful in the face of uncertainty, and to trust that all things come to fruition in their proper season. This patience, refined in solitude, becomes a strength he carries with him, making him resilient in future challenges. Solitude in trials teaches a man to listen to his own heart. When friends are present, it is easy to defer decisions, to seek others' opinions, and to rely on their judgments. But alone he is forced to discern his own thoughts and convictions. He becomes a man who knows himself, who trusts his own judgment, and who does not waver in his decisions. This self-reliance, born of necessity, matures into wisdom and clarity. Alone he learns that his own inner compass is often a reliable guide, especially when aligned with divine principles. Another profound gift of solitude is empathy. The man who has endured hardship alone understands the depth of human need in a way few others do. His loneliness breeds in him a compassion for those who suffer, especially those who, like him, suffer in silence. He learns to recognize the hidden pain in others, to reach out with kindness, and to offer comfort without being asked. His experience of isolation shapes him into a person who, having endured great pain, seeks to ease the pain of others whenever possible. In this way, his solitude becomes a wellspring of love and mercy, transforming him into a beacon of hope for those who walk the same lonely path. Yet perhaps the greatest gift of solitude in times of need is a profound sense of peace. When one learns to walk alone, he is no longer afraid of solitude. Instead, he finds within it a deep and abiding peace that cannot be shaken by the comings and goings of others. He knows that he can face whatever comes his way, that he can endure hardship without fear, and that he can find joy even in the quiet moments. This peace becomes a part of him, grounding him in every circumstance and providing him with an unshakable foundation upon which to build his life. Ultimately, solitude in times of need is both a trial and a blessing. It is a time of testing, yes, but also a time of growth, strength, and revelation. In those moments he learns what truly matters, who he truly is, and who holds him through every storm. He emerges not as a man embittered by his loneliness, but as one who carries within him a quiet strength, a steadfast peace, and a heart open to both the joys and the sorrows of life. An independent spirit is a treasure, a rare gift that shapes an individual to navigate the world with a sense of self-assurance and purpose. It is not born from arrogance or self-reliance for its own sake, but from a deep conviction that the individual is guided by a higher purpose. This spirit refuses to be enslaved by the whims of others or swayed by fleeting opinions. Instead, it seeks out truth and wisdom, knowing that only through these can one walk a path that aligns with divine will. An independent spirit is not one that resists guidance or counsel, but one that seeks it earnestly, for it understands that wisdom is not found in isolation, but in the quiet moments of reflection and submission to the divine. Yet in the face of contrary voices and external pressures, this spirit remains steadfast, holding firm to the path that it believes is right. True independence, however, is not synonymous with isolation. It is not about cutting oneself off from relationships or refusing to consider the needs and perspectives of others. Rather, an independent spirit is one that moves forward with confidence, yet remains grounded in compassion and humility. It is able to make decisions that reflect its own values, without being manipulated by the expectations or desires of others. This form of independence requires discernment and balance, as one learns to assert their own beliefs while also acknowledging the importance of empathy and community. It is a spirit that can stand alone in conviction, yet reach out with a hand of kindness to those who may not agree or who may need support. In an era when conformity is often prized over individuality, the independent spirit stands as a testament to the power of self-determination. To be independent is to recognize the value of personal growth and personal responsibility. It is to take ownership of one's choices and their consequences, refusing to place blame on others or external circumstances. The independent person recognizes that the journey of life is theirs alone to walk, though they may share the path with others along the way. They know that their choices, big and small, will define their legacy, and thus they approach every decision with care, purpose, and clarity. They know that freedom comes not from the absence of rules or discipline, but from the alignment of their actions with their deepest values and faith. An independent spirit is characterized by an inner strength that rises in the face of adversity. While others may falter under the weight of external pressures, the independent individual remains unmoved. This strength comes not from an absence of fear, but from a steadfast belief that challenges are opportunities for growth. They face difficulty with an unshaken faith, understanding that each trial is but a stepping stone toward maturity. In moments of hardship, the independent spirit draws on the well of inner fortitude, relying not on the approval or assistance of others, but on their ability to persevere through God's strength. It is this inner resilience that sets them apart, for they do not seek to avoid suffering, but to use it as a means of transformation. However, true independence is not a rejection of community or support. The independent spirit recognizes that while one must walk their own path, they do not do so in a vacuum. They understand the importance of surrounding themselves with people who respect their individuality, yet who also offer encouragement, wisdom, and challenge. It is in the context of healthy relationships that an independent spirit is nurtured and refined. The independent person does not demand constant validation from others, but they understand the need for connection and companionship. This balance between self-reliance and community is what enables them to grow and thrive, drawing strength from the mutual exchange of love and encouragement. The independent spirit is also marked by its ability to take risks and embrace change. To be truly independent is to recognize the value of growth and personal development, even when that growth requires stepping into the unknown. The independent person does not shy away from uncertainty, but embraces it with the knowledge that only by moving beyond their comfort zone can they discover new horizons. They see change not as something to be feared, but as a natural part of the journey. With every new challenge or opportunity, they remain open to the lessons that it brings, knowing that they have the capacity to adapt and overcome. This courage to step forward, even when the way ahead is unclear, is a hallmark of the independent spirit. In the pursuit of independence, the individual learns to trust their own intuition. They recognize that the voice within, when aligned with truth and faith, is often a more reliable guide than the opinions of the crowd. They do not need to consult others at every turn, for they have learned to listen to the quiet whispers of the heart, which reflect the wisdom of years of experience and reflection. This trust in oneself is not born out of pride or self-reliance, but out of a deep understanding that God's Spirit dwells within, guiding their steps. In this way, the independent spirit is both self-reliant and divinely dependent, for it knows that it cannot navigate the world alone, but must remain rooted in faith. One of the key aspects of an independent spirit is its capacity for self-reflection. The independent person is not afraid to look inward and examine their motives, actions, and character. They know that true growth begins with an honest evaluation of oneself, and they are willing to confront uncomfortable truths in order to improve. This self-awareness leads to greater authenticity, for they do not wear masks to please others, but live in a way that is congruent with their values and beliefs. They are comfortable with who they are, even when it is difficult or unpopular, and they refuse to compromise their integrity for the sake of acceptance. Independence, in its truest sense, is not about severing connections or pursuing selfish desires, but about maintaining the integrity of one's values in the face of external influences. The independent person knows that their worth does not come from the approval of others, but from their alignment with God's purpose for their life. They seek first to honor God, and in doing so, they find freedom from the need for external validation. Their identity is secure in their faith, and their confidence comes from knowing that they are walking in the direction that God has called them. This unwavering sense of identity is the foundation of true independence. Finally, an independent spirit is one that leads with courage and compassion. They do not shrink from challenges, but meet them head-on, knowing that their strength is found in God's grace. Yet they are also mindful of others, extending kindness, understanding, and support to those who may be struggling to find their own way. While they may walk alone, they do so with an open heart, ever willing to offer a hand to others who need it. In this way, the independent spirit is not one of isolation, but of purpose-driven action, extending love and encouragement wherever it is needed. Reflection and deep insight are essential qualities that allow one to live intentionally and with purpose. They are not traits that come naturally to all, rather, they are developed over time through consistent practice and a willingness to engage with life at a deeper level. At their core, reflection and insight are the acts of looking inward and contemplating the experiences, choices, and challenges one encounters. Without reflection, we live merely on the surface of life, reacting to events as they unfold without truly understanding their significance or learning from them. It is through reflection that we gain the capacity to connect the dots of our past experiences and see the deeper meanings behind them. Deep insight, however, goes beyond surface-level thinking. It requires us to not only observe our actions and reactions, but also to understand the motivations behind them. Why do we act in certain ways? What drives us to make the choices we make? Through deep insight, we gain clarity on our inner workings, our desires, our fears, and our weaknesses. This kind of self-awareness is invaluable, for it enables us to make decisions based on wisdom rather than impulse. It also allows us to identify patterns in our behavior which may be detrimental to our growth, and gives us the opportunity to correct them before they become ingrained habits. One of the most profound benefits of reflection is the growth it fosters. By taking the time to reflect on our actions, we can assess what has worked well and what has not. This introspective process is the foundation of personal development. It is easy to become discouraged when faced with mistakes or failures, but reflection helps to reframe these moments as opportunities for learning. It teaches us that there is no such thing as a wasted experience, and that every setback holds within it the seeds for future success. Reflection transforms failure from something to be feared into something to be embraced as a necessary part of growth. In order to truly benefit from reflection, however, we must be willing to confront the uncomfortable truths about ourselves. Reflection often requires honesty with ourselves about our weaknesses, our shortcomings, and our blind spots. It can be uncomfortable to face the parts of us that are less than perfect, but it is only through this honest self-examination that we can make real progress. When we avoid this deeper reflection, we remain stagnant, repeating the same patterns of behavior without understanding why. True insight comes from the courage to look deeply into ourselves and to be open to change when it is needed. Reflection and deep insight also allow us to develop a stronger sense of empathy for others. When we take the time to reflect on our own experiences and struggles, we gain a greater understanding of the challenges others may face. This empathy allows us to approach relationships with more kindness, patience, and understanding. It enables us to support others through their own struggles without judgment or impatience. Moreover, by reflecting on how we have been treated by others, we can gain insight into how our actions impact the people around us. This awareness helps us to live in a way that is more considerate and compassionate. A significant aspect of reflection is that it enables us to develop clarity about our life's purpose. In the busyness of day-to-day life, it is easy to lose sight of the larger picture than to become caught up in trivial concerns. Reflection provides the space needed to step back and ask ourselves meaningful questions. What is the true purpose of my life? What am I meant to accomplish? What legacy do I want to leave behind? These questions are foundational to living a life that is both fulfilling and aligned with our deepest values. Through deep reflection, we align our daily actions with our greater purpose, ensuring that we are not simply going through the motions but are living intentionally. Another key benefit of reflection is that it fosters mindfulness. In a world that moves at a rapid pace, it is easy to be swept along by the current of daily responsibilities and distractions. Reflection requires slowing down and tuning in to the present moment. It is the practice of being mindful of our thoughts, emotions, and reactions and of observing them without judgment. This mindfulness is vital for cultivating peace of mind and reducing stress, as it allows us to recognize when we are becoming overwhelmed and to take steps to regain our balance. Reflection helps us to slow down and become more aware of how we are feeling and thinking in any given moment. Deep insight also allows us to discern the lessons embedded in our experiences. Life is full of trials, challenges, and difficulties, and it is all too easy to see these moments as obstacles to overcome or sufferings to endure. However, reflection enables us to discover the wisdom hidden within those trials. It allows us to see that hardships are not random or meaningless, but rather opportunities for growth and transformation. Through reflection, we begin to understand the lessons that each experience has to offer, whether it is the value of perseverance, the importance of humility, or the need for patience. The process of gaining insight is ongoing and requires dedication. It is not a one-time event or a process that happens overnight. Reflection and insight are cultivated over time through consistent effort and the willingness to learn from life's experiences. It is through this sustained practice that we develop the wisdom needed to navigate the complexities of life with grace and understanding. We must remain open to learning, even when it is uncomfortable or difficult. By making reflection a regular part of our lives, we continually refine our ability to understand ourselves and the world around us, leading us to greater peace, purpose, and fulfillment. A sense of disconnection from worldly pleasures often arises when one begins to see the transient and fleeting nature of the things the world offers. The pursuit of material wealth, fame, and status may once have been seen as goals to be achieved, but with time a deeper understanding unfolds. The moment comes when you realize that these pleasures, although satisfying for a time, do not fulfill the soul's deepest longings. The promises of lasting joy from earthly gains fall short, leaving you yearning for something more substantial, something that does not fade or pass with time. This sense of disconnection often marks a turning point in one's spiritual journey, where one begins to seek fulfillment not from the world but from a higher eternal source. At the core of this disconnection lies the recognition of the emptiness of worldly pursuits. Success, wealth, pleasure, while not inherently wrong, can become traps when pursued for their own sake. The world entices us to chase after things that glitter, promising happiness if only we can acquire more, achieve more, or experience more. However, when these things are gained, they do not provide the lasting satisfaction that we had hoped for. They are fleeting, and once they are gone, we are left with a hollow feeling, realizing that what we thought would bring us joy cannot do so. This is when we begin to feel a disconnection from the very things we once believed were the key to happiness. As we grow in spiritual awareness, the disconnection from worldly pleasures deepens. It is not that we no longer enjoy the simple gifts of life, but we begin to recognize that these things were never meant to be our ultimate satisfaction. Food, leisure, material possessions, and even success in our careers, these things become secondary in light of a greater truth. We begin to see the limitations of earthly pleasures, realizing that they can never fill the eternal void that only God can satisfy. This disconnection is not one of sorrow but of liberation, for we are freed from the chains that worldly pursuits once placed upon us. This disconnection does not mean that one abandons all worldly things, but it shifts the focus of life away from the pursuit of fleeting pleasures toward the pursuit of lasting spiritual growth. As we become more attuned to the things of God, we begin to long for His presence more than the temporary satisfaction offered by the world. We seek peace that transcends circumstances, joy that is not contingent upon external situations, and contentment that is not dependent on material wealth. We understand that true fulfillment comes not from the accumulation of things, but from an intimate relationship with God and a heart aligned with His will. In this process, we may begin to feel somewhat out of place in the world around us. We no longer find the same satisfaction in things that once brought us joy. Conversations that once seemed stimulating may now seem shallow, and activities that once seemed exciting may now feel empty. As our hearts are increasingly drawn toward the eternal, we find that the pleasures of the world hold less and less appeal. This disconnection can create tension, as we begin to live in a world that no longer aligns with the deepest longings of our hearts. Yet this tension is a sign of spiritual growth, for it shows that we are becoming more aligned with God's eternal kingdom. This disconnection is also marked by an increasing dissatisfaction with worldly comforts. We live in a world that offers distractions and superficial pleasures designed to keep us from reflecting on the deeper questions of life. However, as we deepen in our spiritual understanding, we begin to feel uneasy with the emptiness of these distractions. The constant noise, the endless pursuit of entertainment, and the shallow comforts of modern life no longer provide the solace they once did. This dissatisfaction is not a burden, but a gentle prompting to seek more, something beyond the physical and temporal world, something spiritual and eternal. In fact, this growing disconnection serves as a catalyst for spiritual awakening. The discontentment we feel with worldly pleasures pushes us to search for something more meaningful. It propels us to look beyond the temporary and set our sights on the eternal. We begin to crave a deeper sense of purpose, and in doing so we find ourselves more attuned to God's calling. The things of this world that once captured our attention now seem insignificant when compared to the treasure we find in Christ. This sense of disconnection is, in reality, a divine invitation to a life that is richer, fuller, and more satisfying than anything the world could ever offer. Yet this disconnection does not lead to bitterness or frustration with the world. Instead, it enables us to view life through a more compassionate lens. While we may no longer find joy in the pleasures the world offers, we understand that others are still seeking satisfaction in those things. Rather than condemning them, we are moved with compassion and a desire to share the truth of the abundant life found in Christ. We begin to see the emptiness in others' pursuits, and instead of judgment, we are called to lead them to the same place of peace and fulfillment that we have found. As this disconnection deepens, our lives become marked by a growing sense of peace and contentment that the world cannot give. We learn to rest in God's presence, finding joy not in what we possess or achieve, but in who we are in Him. We understand that our worth is not tied to our material possessions, our success, or our reputation. Our worth is anchored in the love of God, which is unchanging and eternal. This sense of disconnection from worldly pleasures leads us into a deeper connection with God, and in Him we find everything we have been seeking. The disconnection from worldly pleasures is not a loss, but a gain. It frees us from the pursuit of things that cannot ultimately satisfy, allowing us to seek the one thing that can, the presence of God. As we release our grip on the things of the world, we are filled with a deeper, more lasting joy. We find our hearts set free from the bondage of materialism and worldly desires, and we discover a peace that surpasses all understanding. The things of this world, though once held dear, become pale in comparison to the richness of life in Christ. In the end, this disconnection from worldly pleasures is a sign of spiritual maturity. It reflects a heart that is being transformed by God's love and grace, a heart that no longer seeks fulfillment in the temporary things of this world, but in the eternal and unshakable love of God. It is a sign that we are becoming more like Christ, whose ultimate satisfaction was found not in the pleasures of this world, but in fulfilling the will of His Father. This disconnection, far from being a loss, is an invitation to live the abundant life that only God can offer, a life that is rich in love, purpose, and eternal joy. An earnest compassion for others is a deep, heartfelt empathy that compels us to act, not just feel. It is the kind of compassion that sees beyond the surface and understands the true nature of another's suffering. It does not only sympathize, but also seeks to alleviate the burdens of others in a tangible way. This kind of compassion requires a selflessness that looks past one's own comforts and desires and instead places the needs of others in the forefront. It is not a fleeting emotion, but a constant, enduring force that shapes how we interact with the world. True compassion is rooted in a love that transcends circumstances and challenges. It sees value in people, regardless of their status, and believes that every person has inherent worth. When we cultivate such compassion, we are moved to respond in kindness, patience, and understanding, recognizing that everyone, at some point, will face hardship. To feel compassion for others is one thing, but to act on it is another. This deeper form of compassion goes beyond mere sympathy and transforms into practical, life-giving action. It compels us to help those in need, to reach out to those who are suffering, and to stand with the oppressed and the marginalized. An earnest compassion does not wait for others to ask for help, but anticipates the need and steps in. It involves a willingness to be inconvenienced, to give up our time, our resources, and even our comfort for the sake of another. This kind of compassion mirrors the love Christ showed when He laid down His life for others, not because they asked for it, but because He saw their need and responded with sacrificial love. A key aspect of earnest compassion is that it sees beyond a person's outward behavior and acknowledges their deeper struggles. People may often act in ways that are hurtful or frustrating, yet when we develop compassionate eyes, we can recognize that such behavior is often the result of inner pain, fear, or unresolved wounds. Compassion enables us to see people not as their worst actions, but as individuals deserving of mercy and grace. This understanding does not excuse wrong behavior, but encourages a deeper level of patience, allowing us to address the root causes of someone's actions rather than simply responding to the symptoms. It means seeing the person behind the hurt, the struggle beneath the actions, and the soul that is in need of healing. Earnest compassion also involves listening, truly listening to others without judgment or haste. Often we are so quick to offer solutions or advice that we forget the most compassionate thing we can do is simply be present and listen. Listening allows us to understand the depth of another's pain, joy, or fear. It helps us to see the nuances of their situation and provides them with the respect they deserve. When we listen with compassion, we communicate that their struggles matter and that they are worthy of our time and attention. In turn, this act of listening can be incredibly healing, as it shows them that they are not alone in their suffering. Moreover, an earnest compassion for others extends even to those who are difficult to love. It calls us to embrace not just those who are easy to care for, but also those who challenge us with their behavior or personality. It is easy to show compassion to those who are kind, generous, and loving toward us, but true compassion is tested when we encounter those who are indifferent, unkind, or even hostile. Compassion does not ask whether a person deserves love, it simply gives it. It's the love that compels us to act kindly even when we are met with coldness or rejection. This is where true strength of character lies, when we extend compassion not because it is easy, but because it is right. As we cultivate compassion, we also learn to be more patient with others. This is especially true in a world that can often seem indifferent or harsh. Patience allows us to be present with others in their pain, to walk alongside them without rushing to fix or change their circumstances. It helps us understand that healing takes time and that love is often most needed in the most difficult moments. Patience allows compassion to endure through frustration, disappointment, and even failure. It gives us the strength to continue loving even when progress seems slow and when the path toward healing appears uncertain. It is in the practice of patience that compassion deepens, for it reveals our willingness to walk through life with others, no matter how long it takes. Compassion also involves a deep commitment to justice and the well-being of others. True compassion is not passive, but seeks to right wrongs and stand for justice. It involves speaking up for those who cannot speak for themselves, advocating for those who are oppressed, and standing in the gap for those who are vulnerable. It means not just offering sympathy for someone's plight, but actively working to make things better for them. Compassion leads to action, and in doing so, it helps build a society where people are valued, cared for, and treated with dignity. It is a call to make the world a better place by being a compassionate force for good. Finally, earnest compassion for others always points back to love, God's love. When we love others as God loves us, we begin to see them through His eyes. We recognize that, despite their flaws and imperfections, they are beloved children of God, deserving of our love and care. Compassion flows from this divine love, enabling us to serve, care for, and uplift others. It calls us to model the love of Christ, who showed us the ultimate act of compassion in laying down His life for us. In doing so, we reflect God's image to the world, becoming instruments of His love, mercy, and grace. As we grow in compassion, our lives become more aligned with God's will, for we begin to embody the love and care that He has for the world. Compassion transforms us into people who not only see the needs of others, but who act upon them with selflessness, patience, and a heart that reflects God's own. It is the mark of a mature faith, one that is not self-centered but others-focused, seeking to serve and uplift those around us in every way possible. Compassion is not just an emotion but a calling, a way of life that reflects the heart of God to a hurting world.
Hypnotic sultry. I know you think you're the man of the hour. I know you think I'm a delicate flower, but I'm here to tell you I'ma take back the power. I like to dip my fries in sweet and sour. Bring around the rosy, a pocket full of posies. Doctor gave you diagnosis, turns out you're just hella nosy. You're always in my business, but this ain't a floral shop. I wish you would begonia, but you never seem to stop. So why don't you mind your own? You've been in the class too long. You singing the same damn songs, time for you to move along. I like to dip my fries in sweet and sour. I know you think you're the man of the hour. I'm a delicate flower, but I'm here to tell you I'ma take back the power. I like to dip my fries in sweet and sour. Why you stressing all the time? Stop and give the roses a smell. There's so much more to life than trying to give everybody hell. You used to make me laugh a little, you used to be so silly. Now one day you're a daffodil, the next day you're a lily. Your two lips sure do a lot of flap. You should close them like a Venus flytrap. I don't wanna hear what you said. I don't want your weeds in my bed. I like to dip my fries in sweet and sour. I know you think you're the man of the hour. I know you think I'm a delicate flower, but I'm here to tell you I'ma take back the power. I like to dip my fries in sweet and sour. Why you stressing all the time? Stop and give the roses a smell. There's so much more to life than trying to give everybody hell. You used to make me laugh a little, you used to be so silly. Now one day you're a daffodil, the next day you're a lily. Your two lips sure do a lot of flap. You should close them like a Venus flytrap. I don't wanna hear what you said. I don't want your weeds in my bed. I like to dip my fries in sweet and sour. I know you think you're the man of the hour. I know you think I'm a delicate flower, but I'm here to tell you I'ma take back